Good morning, everyone, and welcome back to the channel, and welcome back to another episode of the Disney Plus Project. So, if you guys are enjoying our videos, make sure you leave us a like and a comment, and if you're new around the channel, make sure you hit that subscribe button so you don't miss anything. So, this week I actually got a chance to sit down. Actually, it was this morning of recording. Today's Saturday for me recording. I actually got a chance this morning, while Aiden and Anna were still asleep, to sit down and actually watch something new, rather than running into the problem last week where I didn't have time. So this week I watched a National Geographic show called Lost Cities. Lost Cities with, I cannot remember the guy's name now. And so I watched the first episode and then a little bit of the second episode, because then Aiden woke up and I had to take care of him. And this show was incredibly fascinating. And it sort of has to do with the fact that I'm really, really into history and archaeology. I really love that type of thing, and as well as anthropology, which is the like cultures, study of cultures, which is one of the reasons that I study languages and different things like that. But the first episode was about he was the guy that was doing the show he went to Israel, he went to the city of Accra, and he was looking at a lost fortress of the Knights Templar that used to be in Accra before I think it was the last stronghold that ended up falling, was the city of Accra, when Salah ad-Din came in and laid siege to the fortress and ended up winning, actually. So there's a few things that I really like about this show. One is that it's a National Geographic show. Obviously they're bringing in a bunch of experts, but these experts that they're bringing in are very knowledgeable, and at least in this episode, they were the ones that were doing the excavations themselves. So there was a bunch of a system of tunnels that went underneath the city of Accra, and that the Templars used to transport the gold and stuff, because it ran underneath the city. And the lady, I can't remember her name now either, but she was the one leading the team that was doing the excavation of that tunnel. And so it was really fascinating to be able to hear her talk about it. It seems as though she was the one that was doing that excavation. She was the one that ended up discovering that those tunnels were down there. And so it was just really interesting. And then at the beginning of the second episode, it was kind of the same way. It was I think, and even looking at the titles of the episodes, it's stuff that would be really fascinating. One of them is going to be about the El Dorado, the City of Gold. I think one of them was oh goodness, what was the other one about? I think one of them was about Machu Picchu. He mentions that at one point. And it's just really, really cool. And they use some really cool, sophisticated technology to map things out. So when they were doing the underground tunnels, you don't know where you are because the GPS doesn't reach you. And so they had to do a laser scanning and essentially do a 3D scan of the tunnels, and at the same time they were doing the same thing at the city above, and then it ended up layering it, and they were able to see where the tunnel was exactly, and where the underground guardhouse was that they had found. And so it was just really the technology they were using was really fascinating to me. And they were able to this guy, he was able to go to another stronghold or another castle of the Templars, Benoir, something like that. It was Benoir Castle or something like that. And they were able to go. He was able to go to this castle, and he got a tour around it from the guy that normally is the caretaker of it. He got to tour it with this guy and see how it was laid out, how everything was structured, and different things like that. And so from that, he was able to then extrapolate and go back to this fortress at Accra. And then he had already been able to figure out kind of where the fortress would have been, but because he'd gone to that other castle, he was then able to essentially build a model, a 3D model with his technology that actually would be what the fortress looked like. And it was really, really cool to watch, because they were able to build an app that allowed him to use his iPad and sweep the camera along, and it actually superimposed the fortress onto over the parking lot and over the lagoon where it would have been. And it was really cool. And so I think that's a show that I might actually continue with. There's only 6 episodes right now, but I think that's one that I'm going to keep watching because that type of thing is super fascinating to me. And that's one of the things that I normally like about the few National Geographic shows that I've seen, is that for me, they are super interesting because it covers things like culture or archaeology or just history in general. And then there's all the nature ones, and Anna and I both love animals. We love nature and different things like that. And so we really enjoy the few of those that we've seen. And so I'm hoping that we'll be able to do with more of our Disney Plus project, that we'll be able to do more of the National Geographic stuff mixed in with the Disney stuff. It's just, I don't know. That type of thing makes me happy. It's super fascinating and super fun for me to watch. So, but we'll have to see how Anna feels about it. I don't really think there's anything about it that I could say was bad, because usually I try to give at least like a couple of negative things, but I didn't really see anything. I mean, I guess one thing could be that the only reason that it's so good to me is because I'm interested in that type of subject matter. For somebody who doesn't care about really care about learning about cultures, who doesn't care about history or archaeology or things like that, it'd be a little boring. And so it's for a really specific audience. And that's going to be the only possibly negative thing to be about that show. Otherwise, it's all really good. I really like it. There's a lot of stuff that you can tell. I guess one thing maybe is there's a lot of stuff that you can tell is scripted. And it's very obviously scripted, but they still went through the motions of having that script and then like going about, and it was like acting like it was the first time that they met this expert or that expert or whatever, when it really wasn't. They met them beforehand, talked with them, and they like ended up scripting something, and then they went up and were like, oh hey, my name's such and such. And so it's very obviously scripted, but that really doesn't bother me all that much, mostly because I'm used to it. I used to watch like the Discovery Channel all the time. So, but yeah, those are kind of my thoughts on that show. Like I said, it was really, really good. It is worth watching if you're the type of person who is into that type of thing like I am. Then it's really, really fun to watch. I really enjoyed it. So, again, next week, I don't know what I'm going to do next week. I'm kind of doing this all by the seat of my pants. I just kind of, like that one, I kind of just picked this morning as I was going, flipping through. So, I don't know what I'm going to do next week, so I can't really give you any sort of forewarning about it. But hopefully you enjoyed this video, and hopefully you will all join me next week. But until then, don't forget to thank the Phoenicians.